All right, I will call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. To all persons interested in or affected by the action of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you are hereby notified pursuant to Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing on the following appeals will be held on Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, at the time indicated. We'll start with introduction of board members. We've got Mark Hansen.
Present.
Herb Bodenseek.
Present.
Paul Pinard.
Present.
Aaron Webb.
Present.
Larry Hurwitz.
Present.
And I am Jacob Dewey. Denise Johnson is absent. First order of business is minutes, July 12th, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. New business. Appeal number 2023-015, J. Bartome, DBA Chef J LLC, has applied for a special permit in accordance with Section 240-94B, expansion of pre-existing non-conforming use, Section 240-53B, 1 side landscape buffer setback, and Section 240-53C, 10% interior landscape islands. The applicant proposes to use an existing vacant gravel area in the parcel as an expansion of parking for the existing restaurant. The restaurant is located on Lot 2 of the gravel lot, is located on Lot 1 of Plan Book 278, page 18. The two lots have been in common ownership. Subject property is located at 4631 Falmouth Road, Katuitt, Massachusetts, on Assessor's Map 024 as Parcel 157. It's located in the Residence FRF zoning district.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, if I may, I just want to disclose that I am a former employee of the building, not under Jay's ownership, back when it was the Regatta of Katuitt. I spent many a year there and know the property very well, and also, so I just want to disclose that real quick, but it should not affect my ability to make a judgment on this case.
Perfect. So sitting this will be our regular members, Mark, Herb, myself, Aaron, and Paul. Go ahead, Dan.
Good evening, Chairman Dewey, members of the commission, the board. My name is Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Downcape Engineering in Yarmouthport. With me is Chef Jay, and we've got, hopefully it's a pretty straightforward request here tonight. If you've been by the property for many years now, there's been a gravel parking lot to the west of it. It was originally put in without permits, and there was some discussions about it, and so it hasn't been utilized, but Chef Jay was not operating then. He took over a few years after that and has been operating it very successfully, and he's purchased the property a couple of years ago now. There's a situation where at that time there's a loan on the property, and we have the two lots listed as collateral. While it's assessed as one lot, it's important to understand that there are two distinct properties there. They're shown by the line on the plan between the two, and it's lot 1 and 2 on a plan which is in your materials here, and then there's a further lot, a remainder lot of about 5.8 acres to the east. So this was divided up back in the day, and has always remained separate. The history, very briefly, is it was in the 1800s a stage stop. It was always a restaurant, so that's kind of a nice tradition for the property. It fell out of use and was converted by special permit back at that time into an interior decorating shop, I believe in the late 70s. That didn't work very well, so they came back and they requested it be reestablished as a restaurant. This board found that that was appropriate. The Western abutter there, Ronald Mycock, spoke in favor and thought that a fine dining restaurant would be a great addition for the area, and it was approved. It then came back, I think, for an adjustment on the number of seats, but it always revolved around that Lot 2 area. And but as you know, cars get bigger, restaurants get busy, and more spaces are needed. It really would be advantageous to be able to use that second lot for parking. So I would respectfully request that you do allow that. I was interested or pleased to see that on the older plans, which are part of the file, that there's always been some parking on that lot. You could see the highlighted area here where the old lot, back when it was an interior decorator and so forth, was on this lot 2, or lot 2 extended onto lot 1, I should say. And then further, even today, you can see that it was constructed a little bit onto Lot 1. So we've got a toe hold in there. That's important because use variances aren't allowed in this area. So would respectfully ask that you find that the old plan showing that use can be slightly expanded and modified as shown. There's tremendous buffers on this property. We've got 52 feet off the right-of-way, even a little bit more when you count to the edge of the pavement on the north, and the west is probably in excess of 100 feet, and similar on the south, 80 to 100 feet of woods all around this lot. So it is literally just a nice little lot in the middle of a wooded area. You can see from the photograph, which is aerial view, which is attached. There's a healthy buffer all the way around. So I did go through a narrative with some additional details, but the key points being we really would not like to merge them because we'd have to go back and refinance, and the loan rates are no longer favorable. But by granting, and if we merge them, we wouldn't need some of the relief, which is the side buffer. Obviously, if it's merged, there is no side, it's all central, so that would go away. And the interior, there's a nice existing cedar tree there. It's about 3% interior. If we could keep that, we'd appreciate it. I think that it would qualify as a special permit because there's just so many woods all around it, and it's not a very big lot. So I think for those reasons, and as I stated in the application, you could make the finding that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood to have the single tree island as we have shown rather than a little bit bigger one. So again, expanded use, the interior lot buffer, and the interior landscape island would be the relief that would need. I can go into it in more detail if you need, but we think it's a nice fine dining restaurant. It's a great use for the area. It's quiet and would be good neighbors. And we believe that we have the support of at least a western abutter. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you.
Just,
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
I do. So just with regard to the ownership, just so I understand, were the lots purchased together, or was one lot purchased and then lot 2 was purchased and then lot 1 was purchased?
The answer is they've been purchased, they've been owned in common ownership for a while now. Yeah.
So when you purchased, how was it that they didn't come together? Were they separately purchased?
Because they're big enough that they didn't merge. So the key is, even though it's 2 acre zoning now, in 2000, when they changed the law to say that you needed 2 acres, they specifically exempted any lot shown on a plan that predated that 2000 would be forever buildable as a residential lot. So the principle of merger wouldn't apply necessarily. But for the assessor's purposes, they just merge it for ease of accounting.
Okay, and just one last question. What was the situation that brought about the request for the special permit?
The special permit here. So the gravel lot right now technically can't be used because it's on a residential lot. So it's sitting there vacant, and so we'd like to utilize it. And that has been the rub. The old owner went and put it in without asking, and I think some people at the town got a little bit upset with him. They said, you're not going to do that. And he didn't, but then it was sold and years have passed, and boy, it seems like a pretty reasonable thing to have a modest expansion. So we're respectfully requesting that, and that we've got a warm reception so far from the town folks.
Okay. So this is really just for the side lot setback, correct?
Yeah, it's principally where we're exceeding all the buffers. It would just be the interior buffer that you'd normally need, which again, if they were merged, would go away. And we've got about 3% interior landscaping when you normally have 10%. But I just point to all the landscaping around and say, it seems like it's good enough.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, go ahead, Paul.
Go.
The buffer from the street from 28. Yeah, I got it, David. The buffer from 28, the setback for the proposed extra parking.
Yeah.
I can't, what's the depth of that?
It's 52 feet plus or minus is what I label on the plan. So it's over 50 feet where 10 feet are required.
That's from 28 to the beginning of the parking.
From the right-of-way of the road, which is off the road a bit,
Right.
to the edge of the parking field is 52 feet. Yeah,
That's vegetated now, am I correct?
heavily vegetated, yes, absolutely, yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure in our conditions here that we, I would like to see that maintained
Yes.
to the code, so at least 10 feet. I think 10 feet is the code.
Yeah, and the suggested conditions are that you do it exactly per this plan, and so it would have to come back to go to 10. So that's probably even more conservative than what you're proposing. But either way, however you'd like to word it, we're absolutely committed to leaving a nice big buffer out front.
Okay, but, hang on just a minute, I don't see.
It says full build out. It says that any expansion, no further changes will be permitted without approval of the board. Number 3.
So it would be my reading of it anyway, that if you referred to this plan, that it was on record, that if it's changes at all, we've got to come back, and we're happy with that. And it is shown as a wooded area on this plan, 52 feet in width approximately.
Okay, so number 2 is really the issue, is really where it is. The plan title, Site Plan of Land at 4631 Falmouth Road, Katuitt, is what you're referring to there, Dan.
Substantial conformance with that site plan, yeah.
Thank you.
And then number 3 also, the proposal should full build-out, no further changes without further approval from you folks. So 2 and 3 to working together should cover that nicely.
Okay, good, thank you.
Aaron, go ahead.
I just, my question is about the curb cut. We're not adding a new curb cut? No. So the original curb cut that remains off of Route 28 comes in, and I can't quite tell where they'll access Lot 1, I guess, through there looks like some faded parking lines on the plan. Is that where they'll be able to enter into that?
Yes, precisely. So what we're doing, and it may be described in this little paragraph here, so as a parking on the west side of the restaurant, proposed 25 new spaces, wheel stops. So we're losing 6 spaces for the new aisles. So there's 4 up here and 2, well, however it works out. We're losing 6 and gaining the balance of 25, so I guess we end up with 54 over here. But that would be we'll
Yep.
probably go in and out,
Gotcha.
do some arrows, and so you'd have a nice big circle for fire trucks and everything, which would be an advantage, I would say.
All set, yeah.
So how are they accessing it now? I'm still like a little bit stuck on, because you're asking us to say this is pre-existing non-conforming, but also I'm hearing that it's not in use now.
All right, so the subtlety of that is that a portion of it is being used, and we're looking to expand it. So you can see from where the line is there, some of our spaces are over the line already, and then some of the gravel that's always been there, even since the 80s when the zoning changed, which is the requirement. So both those have already been on the lot, and we're expanding it into here. So that's the rub, is that it's a small area getting to a bigger area, but I think it's very reasonable. It's super big buffers, and it's a good use. It's good for the town, good for the applicant, so hopefully deserving of a special permit, even though it isn't currently utilized as parking.
And they're in common ownership, so for zoning purposes, they've merged anyway, so that lot's not buildable on its own? Or
Well, so you can argue things both ways, but I would say that, no, it would absolutely stand on its own. So he could sell it tomorrow for a house lot, but by getting this special permit, it does seem that would have to come back to you guys to change any use on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's sort of my question here. Is he willing to abandon that ability to do that? If we
Yes.
Condition it that, basically, that the lots transferred together in
Yes.
perpetuity, that they...
Yeah, I mean, we can
Essentially
always
are
come
merged.
back. This isn't final, right? So we would have to come back, and we are willing to have to do that and advertise and come back to put a house on there if we ever wanted. But honestly, it's a very nice restaurant. It's a high end, and it needs the parking. So the highest and best use, in our opinion, is to use that as parking, not as a house.
Yep.
So we're very, very pleased if you would give us the permission to do that, and we're absolutely willing to relinquish the ability to put a house on it. And now, when sewer comes by later, and maybe there's a need for some housing, we'll just come back and ask.
Okay. And then just in terms of not being able to get to hit the parking lot requirements, I mean, could we, with the space that's there, could those be met? Or the idea is we don't want to expand it any further?
No, I think we meet enough, because you only need one per three, and I think would be enough for 150, 160 seats, so I think we're fine on the number of spaces. I don't think we'll need to expand beyond that, but if we do, we'll come back and respectfully request a little expansion. It looks
But-
like there's plenty,
In terms of just, island requirements
yes.
that you're asking for a waiver on, could that be met if you had more area, if you took more space of the
Yeah.
lot? And the idea is you just didn't want to expand it.
So there's two reasons for that. One, we're actually going to go to the Board of Health and ask that we put the leaching field over here. And leaching fields don't like trees, so it fit in there without a bigger island, so we only proposed what we proposed with that in mind. Otherwise, it could be a little bit bigger, but again, it's not that big a lot, and there's trees all around it, and there is an island, so with all those factors, we're hopeful that the board could find that it wouldn't be substantially more detrimental to have a slight reduction in the interior island space.
Okay. And there's no planned drainage update or anything?
Yeah,
on
the good
paperwork?
news on that is it's gravel, so it's somewhat impervious, or somewhat pervious, and it also pitches down to a low area that's over here, so it's not impactful to the neighbors. And that was actually, the topography is actually shown on this other site plan where the low area is.
Okay. Does anyone have any more questions before we open to public comment? No? Good. I don't think we received anything. Anything? No? Does anyone here speak to this? All right, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, public comment is closed. It brings it back to the board for deliberation or findings. Does anyone have any?
So, oops. So this is a change of use, too.
Well,
Expansion of
they're
a,
saying it's an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use, which is, we're walking on a little fine line here.
Okay.
That's the,
we've got our foot in the door like Fuller Brush Company. But it honestly, through the chair, it has been used as parking, at least in portion, for many, many, many years.
was there there was no enforcement order placed on or anything from the town? Building commissioner didn't do a cease and desist on using it as parking or anything recently. That's not what's sort of stemmed any of this.
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything formally in the file, but they were, the building commissioner or whoever in the office said, you're not using that, and so it has never really been used, yeah.
That sort of spoke to my question about what facilitated this in the first place. Most
Yeah.
people don't come out of the goodness of their heart. So
Yeah, yeah.
was there is nothing currently pending with the town?
It was
correct?
disclosed at the sale that was a situation, and he bought the lot and financed it, and now has just, the mood at the town has seemed to shift, and, it seems like everything is calmed down, and it seems like a very reasonable use. The building commissioner was in favor, so didn't require site plan review, thought it was a good idea, and so here we are.
And were they in agreement that this had been previously in use?
It was, so it was constructed to be used, it was used, they were told, don't use it, at least informally, and they didn't use it, and then somebody snuck back over there and they said, don't use it, and so it was known not to use it, they're gonna be shut them down if they use it. And so that was the way it was for a few years, and everyone's been trained not to use it, but here we are, we checked in with the town, and it's been so many years, we got a new owner, it's reasonable, so they said, we think that might not be a bad idea, and so here we are.
Thank you.
Paul, do you have more comments?
No, I don't think it's a big issue, but it is a change of use.
Well, the problem is they can't get a use variance on 28. We're not within 300 feet of the road, so they couldn't even apply for one.
Yeah, would definitely need you to find it, and to be clear, let's, just to go over it again, this pink area on the attachments here is 1980, I don't have my glasses on, but it's either, I believe it's 81, early in 1982, Baxter and I shows the edge of the existing parking clearly on that lot. So, and it's been there, and I've checked all the aerials, it never was removed, it's there today, And for belts and suspenders, at and about that time, the paved parking encroached a few feet and has always been there, as you can see from that plan there. I don't know if you could see it clearly, but the paved line is over, where you can see it in the upper corner. There's about 5 feet of those paved parkings. It's been on that lot the whole time, generally in that same area. So I would respectfully submit that absolutely, Lot 1 has been in continuous use as a legal, pre-existing non-conforming since the zoning change, and therefore by special permit. And now maybe it's a little bit of a generous special permit, but again, I think it's one of those situations where there's no harm, no foul. It's a small lot. It's a good use. He's a good member of the community, pays a lot of taxes, and people enjoy the restaurant, and it's got a huge buffer all the way around it. So for a number of, nice reasons, that perhaps you could find that it is indeed an expansion and not a fresh use.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to lean on the fact that the paved parking lot maybe went across
Yeah.
more so than the gravel.
Yeah. Yeah, and it will improve the safety, because as it is, parking's a little tight on a busy day, and people stack up, where now they'll be able to zip right in and get off of Route 28.
How far is it from the back of the lot to 28? I mean, that must be more than 300 feet, right?
It's only 282,
Okay.
the depth, yeah. And Chef Jay pointed out that if it is busy, sometimes people park across the street, so now you've got people walking across Route 28 when they really shouldn't be at that time of night.
Does someone want to make findings? Paul, go ahead.
Nice ball.
Yeah, well, I'm a type of guy. This concerns appeal number 2023-015, Bartolomei, if that's pronounced correctly. J. Bartolomei, DBA Chef J LLC, has applied for a special permit in accordance with Section 240-94B, expansion of pre-existing non-conforming use, Section 240-53B, 1, side landscape buffer setback, and Section 240-53C, 10% interior landscaped islands. The applicant proposes to use an existing vacant gravel area on the parcel as an expansion of parking for an existing restaurant. The restaurant is located on Lot 2, and the gravel lot is located on Lot 1 of Plan Book 278, page 18. The two lots have been in common ownership. The subject property is located at 4631 Falmouth Road, Katuitt, Mass. As shown as Assessor's Map 024, as parcel 157 is located in the Residence FRF zoning district. I find that the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for grant of special permit. Section 240-94B allows for a special permit. I find that after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. It would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or neighborhood affected. I would like to also to note that the current paved parking lot extends into the proposed expansion parking lot. A site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with conditions, even though a site plan review is not required. Any proposed expansion of the use shall conform to the established setbacks for the zoning district in which it is located, or such graded setbacks as the zoning board of appeal may require due to the nature of the use and its impact on the neighborhood and surrounding properties, and that'll be addressed in the conditions. I find the proposed use and expansion is on the same lot as occupied by the non-conforming use on the date it became non-conforming. I find the proposed new use is not expanded beyond the zoning district in existence on the date it became non-conforming. At the discretion of the Zoning Board of Appeals, improvements may be required in order to reduce the impact on the neighborhood and surrounding properties, included but not limited to A, greater conformance of signage to the requirements of Articles 7, B, the addition of off-street parking and loading facilities, C, improved pedestrian safety, traffic circulation, and reduction in the number and/or width of curb cuts, D, increase of open space or vegetated buffers, and screening along adjoining lots and roadways. The applicant shall demonstrate maximum possible compliance with section 240-53 landscape requirements for parking lots, subsection F, if applicable. I'd also like to note that the buffer to 28 is substantially greater than what is required, and also there will be no additional curb cuts required. And lastly, that the safety will be improved by the fact they won't be stacking of cars in very busy times on Route 28, and hopefully this will reduce people crossing the street to access the restaurant. Those are my findings.
Thank you, Paul. Do I have a second?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Paul, then did you have conditions?
Yes. There are 4 conditions as contained in staff report somewhere.
July 25th.
July 25th, 2023. And Dan, you've seen those 4.
Yep, they look very reasonable. The only, I think, number 3 is fine. As we said, no further changes. We would probably be putting a subsurface septic, but you wouldn't be able to see that, so I think that would be covered. No changes to the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's as long as no change to the site plan, I would, wouldn't want it to change or have any other curb cuts or anything without
Right.
coming back to the board.
All right.
We're very happy with those conditions then.
Those are my conditions.
All right, all those in favor of the conditions?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so you guys have your special permit.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Appreciate it.
All right, our next new business, appeal number 2023-016, Junichi Sawe Yang Agi has applied for a special permit in accordance to section 240-47-2C4 accessory dwelling units, ADUs. The applicant proposes to change the use of the front accessory structure from commercial use, previously a framing business, to residential use as a 1,671 square foot, 1-bedroom accessory dwelling unit, which exceeds the 900 square foot as of right limit. The subject property is located at 1085 Main Street, West Barnstable, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 178 as parcel 004002. It is located in the West Barnstable Village Business District, WBVBD zoning district. We did receive a email from the applicant asking to continue this to the September 13th, 2023 meeting. I'll make a motion to continue appeal number 2023-016 to September 13th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that is continued. And now, moving along, correspondence, none. Was there anything else? Okay. Any matters not reasonably anticipated? Paul's recommendations are with legal right now for our sort of policies and procedures for continuances and no-shows and all of that sort of things.
Great.
Is there any indication as to, I know they've been pretty busy lately, but any indication, Anna, as to what
I'm sorry, I don't have any indication, but I will follow up with them maybe in a week or two and
Okay.
see where they are.
Thank
Is that
you.
with Kate or Karen or
It's with Kate.
Kate? Okay.
Good.
All right. Upcoming hearings, August 23rd, September 13th, and September 27th. Do we start to get busy this fall or
I don't know.
not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.